after you've had a few glasses of wine, a few fishbowls of wine.
Theme.
All right.
What do we got? What are we on?
I think we're moving on to COVID, right?
COVID.
Oh, look at us. Yeah. Still doing it.
Is COVID still here? Is it here? I wouldn't know.
It's like the 8th week in a row, I think, that we're over 1,000 deaths, which isn't even the metric we should all be looking at entirely, but like, that's a lot. That's almost like we're at almost 5,000 deaths a month.
5,000 a month, which is 60,000 a year. That's just the deaths. That's the horrible death ticker, which is not even like, if all that happened was the acute deaths, I could see some normalcy returning, which is still awful.
Yeah.
But like, that's the tip of the iceberg on COVID. That is the tip of the iceberg.
It is truly the tip of the iceberg. Sorry, I'm like seeing some people's comments from long ago, and so I'm not going to put it up. This is especially devastating. This is so crazy, and we've seen it over and over. Remember when they said kids don't get sick from COVID? From October 22nd to April 24th, COVID-associated hospitalizations among infants younger than 6 months. So these are kids, they cannot get vaccinated. And when I see them out in public, they don't have masks ever. They're under 6 months. I don't know why you're bringing them indoors in public, but okay. Higher than any other age group except adults 75 and older. So
it's just the, this whole idea that it's just the old folks you can leave by the wayside, which is
gross, right?
Which is disgusting. That was Fauci's comment.
Yep. And Walensky, it was like the whole thing, right? Like some of the people are going to die, and yeah.
So it's just the babies now. It's just the babies. It's just the babies. We're just going to get the babies sick. But this should be, first off, the Jimmy Dores of the world should be reporting on this, because this is kind of important, but they're not, because they told everybody the kids don't get sick. Kids don't,
right.
Masks don't work. So what could they suggest anyway? Masks work, obviously. But if this data comes out, this should be on the news every day for breaking news, attention, highlight, come back after the commercial, because you go on your ratings. You scare people to come back after the commercial about keeping their babies safe, and you show them some fucking data that like you should be fucking keeping your babies under 6 months away from public people with COVID.
Which, by the way, probably you mostly should anyway. But yeah, I mean, like at the beginning of COVID, it was like, don't worry, the young aren't going to get it. It's just the old people, which is so gross. But like that was the whole thing, just the old people. What's his name? Zeke Emanuel. You remember? It was like everybody after 75, you can just the suicide.
They're on borrowed time anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But now it's like, and by the way, I'm what we're seeing happening in Gaza and in the West Bank and now Lebanon, it is not only a genocide, it is very specifically an infanticide, like killing the next generation. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that this country's fine with it. Well, were they working? Are they earning Jamie Dimon any money, that 5-month-old? What do we care?
Yeah, well, we know too much about the damaging effects of long COVID. And I did pull a video because I feel like I can't explain it as well sometimes as an expert and stuff that we know.
Really good.
No.
99%.
5% as well. But here's a little clip from an expert on long COVID findings recently.
Yes, so this is actually what started our interest in the study, why these abnormal clots were a feature of COVID-19, even though, as you described, many other viral infections also have inflammation. So we thought that maybe there's something special about this virus that drives this processes in both the body and the brain. And indeed, we discovered that the virus has evolved to hijack our coagulation cascade cascade and to interfere with those clotting proteins, making them very inflammatory and damaging to the body and the brain.
And what other brain-related symptoms did you find people are experiencing as a result of long COVID?
So many other researchers have done studies in patients with long COVID, and they have found effects in memory, as well as also a range of symptoms, confusion, inattention, that persist for many years, sometimes years after the original infection. What we found is that under studies in models of COVID-19 is that when we deplete these proteins of the clotting cascade and these blood proteins, we can actually protect both for inflammation in the body, but also protect the brain from harmful toxic inflammation, as well as also improve the survival of neurons in the brain, which of course could have a great impact in reducing these neurological symptoms after COVID infection.
And does it matter how serious your symptoms were when you had COVID? I had COVID. I would say I had mediocre symptoms. You know, I had a fever. I couldn't get out of bed for a day, but then I was okay. Were they serious symptoms that these people had, or were some of them barely symptomatic?
Yeah, this is a great question. So what was really puzzling at the beginning is also that even patients with mild symptoms, they have also developed these neurological abnormalities, even including strokes. So there wasn't this correlation that the more inflammation you had, the worse the symptoms always.
Sorry, but I mean, that's horrifying. What was the thing she was saying that was going to help it? Because I missed it.
Well, so basically they discovered that what's not happening is clotting. The clotting effect isn't happening. When your cells clot, it prevents inflammation. And so inflammation leads to a ton of problems in the body.
And all sorts
the ultimate
of,
thing, cancer is connected largely with inflammation. Yeah. So,
but was she saying, sorry, because I tuned out for a second as I was trying to catch up. Is she saying that there is a treatment on the horizon?
Well, no, what she's saying is that they were able to realize if you could reintroduce the clotting, it would stop the inflammation and protect the brain.
Yeah.
And this is all in models. They don't have a way
the actual
yet
remedy
to do that. But
that's
understanding the mechanisms involved is the way we get out of this. So, you know, and I think the critical part is that this is a local news station actually covering it.
Yeah.
They're saying what needs to be said to the general public everywhere, which should be the CDC messaging on this, which is that a mild infection just means you got out of the acute phase okay.
Faster. Yeah.
The first part was okay,
yep.
But what it does to your body, we don't know yet from there.
It's still there.
And being mild doesn't protect you.
It does not protect you.
Heart attack, all these things that come with COVID.
Right. Just because we didn't do it last week, we just want to put up. Thank you, Macarius. Cheers. Thank you. Really appreciate your super chat. Thank you. Yeah. So there 66% increase in heart attacks in just 4 years. And this started, they started looking at this before the vaccination was introduced. So fuck off to all the anti-vax people who said it's because of the vax. Among super fit, slim, that's the other thing that all these right-winger anti-vax people, they're like, well, they're fat. What were they eating? Alarming rise of super fit, slim, young people suffering heart attacks as experts reveal theories for the surge. Heart attacks, 66% increase in young people under 40, which is making them 1 in 5. Oh my God.
1 in 5 people with a heart attack is under 40. That was so unheard of when I was a kid. Nobody under 40 had heart attacks. And
ever. So
it's COVID, stupid.
I mean, come on. All right. My thing isn't coming up, the CNN cardiac event here.
It's showing.
What'd you say?
I said it's showing on my end.
Oh, it is?
COVID-19 may increase the risk
All
of
right.
heart attacks,
Yeah,
strokes,
I
and
don't see
deaths
it. Yeah.
for 3 years after an infection, study suggests. Well, guess what? COVID's only been around for 5, so it may just not go away, is what the real result of this is.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing. Yeah, exactly. And they don't see any, I can't see it, so I just know that I've highlighted it. It's not showing for me, so just from memory, that there's no decrease. Even 3 years later, they're still seeing it. So it's not like you're not recovering. Nobody's recovering from this. Your cells are remembering it. And also any virus that you've had, it's like, we know that HPV leads to cervical cancer. Viruses can lead to Epstein-Barr syndrome, to like so COVID is basically, because I think because of the inflammation, it's like reactivating viruses that have lain dormant in our systems.
Right. And so what the part there you can't see probably because it's not on your screen. Quote, we have known for some time that infections raise your risk of having a heart attack. So that if you have influenza, if you get any kind of infection, whether it's bacterial or viral, that increases your risk of having a heart attack. But it generally goes away pretty quickly after your infection. This is not the case with COVID. That's what makes it different. It does
From
not.
the flu. It's not the flu.
It's not the flu. It's not like there's this, oh, you got over your mild infection, so now that your body's back, you must be okay. No, you are not. You have that risk still in you. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's awful. And, I'm not going to be able to see this. I don't know why, but, a friend of the show, Julia Doubleday, had a great article last week because the head of NIAID, National Institute for Allergy, Infection, Disease, and I'm not going to be able to see it. It's so frustrating. Oh, look, it just popped up for me. Head of NIAID justified the lack of masking at a long COVID meeting with the argument that people just want to be normal. And, there was a video. It was Lawrence O'Donnell interviewing, Fauci. And I think it was from April of this year. And Fauci's saying, I went to talking about from 2021. He went to his high school reunion or college reunion and saw some friends. He was the only one masking. Here he is. He's the head of, at the time, NIAID, something, whatever. He was in charge of the COVID response. And he's like, I saw my friends and I was the only one masking and I took my mask off. And he got COVID. And it was 3 days before his daughter's wedding, and he missed her wedding. And I'm like, it actually made
Wasn't that Fauci?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fauci. Yeah. Oh, no, maybe I just missed you say. I thought you were talking about
it was
else.
Fauci. Yeah. Like, here he was, like the head of the response to COVID, knowing full well it was airborne. It was still early days. I don't know if this event happened either in 2021 or 2022, but he was like shamed in his own mind into not wearing it. Yeah.
Supposed to be the leader and you're peer pressured into not doing it. And then you get COVID and then you have to go around your kids. I mean,
you can't even go to your daughter's wedding. I mean, thank goodness he wasn't such an asshole that he was like, I still showed up, or who knows, maybe he did. Oh, I'm dropping bottles. But like, it really made me feel very proud of all of us who still mask, even though it's like the least you can do. But like, as an act of resistance, like, when I got all my Bernie tank tops, it was like, this is who I am. I'm Medicare for all, whatever. Like, Bernie, yay, whatever, Bernie. But now I kind of see masks as that. Like, I'm standing with workers, with poor people, with people in communities where our country doesn't fund their schools, and like.
And you're right is the thing. You're right to care about your life and other people's lives. And for these leaders to not even set an example, and their example is that they cave to peer pressure. Like your job as a public messaging person in health is to eliminate the peer pressure. You should be making masks the way you stay alive and protect people, and the sane people are wearing fucking masks. Instead, even just this week, CDC director is at an old folks home trying to get them vaccinated. And here they are all unmasked.
I
This
mean,
is her
it
message.
is so disgusting that you would ever like. I
But
just
here, here she is. Get
Yay,
your
flu
flu
shot.
shot unmasked. And this is in Gray Bruce. I think it's a city in the US somewhere. But testing isn't always the answer, is what they're putting out now.
I gotta.
They're not providing testing now.
I mean, we just got 4 tests for free from our government. They're all expired a year ago, which means, by the way, they were sitting there in some warehouse for a year, right? Like
when people could have used them.
Holding on to them. Yeah. And by the way, also, hey, Strike, there was a way to get new tests. We know in other countries, oh, she's so cute. They have tests that are like RSV, flu, and COVID, rapid tests. Like our tests, we're still getting, if you want to get a test, it's still for 5 variants ago. So yeah, no, it's not picking up. So like on a part of me, if only they had just sort of like shifted what they're saying, but like, yeah, tests actually aren't that indicative right now of whether or not you're carrying the virus or infectious. But the way to deal with that is not be like, oh, don't ever test. It's we need new, better current tests, and we need to fund that.
Yes, and here's since you bring up funding, here's what one state has decided to do with $7.125 million in government funds from COVID-19. It's going to host a wrestling event.
Oh my God. I mean, I prefer that to cops, but are you kidding? That's
well, crazy. I'm sure a lot of cops are getting some overtime pay for this thing. But yeah, that's your COVID money. Instead of the new tests, New Jersey's like, yeah, let's get a wrestling event in town.
Aces. All right, I'm spinning the wheel, right? Because we're done.
Spin that puppy. Let's do it.